Naša naslednja panelistka pa je mednarodna predavateljica in svetovalka za urbani razvoj, doktorica Eva Kajl, ki bo z nami delila več kot 30 let izkušenj načrtovanja javnega prostora z vidika spola na Dunaju, ki velja za enega od pionirjev načrtovanja z vključevanjem enakosti spolov. Predstavila nam bo institucionalni razvoj na ravni mesta, pilotne primere na različnih področjih urbanega razvoja, mainstreaming znotraj mestne uprave in pa seveda še širše. Doktorica Eva Kajl, izvolite.
Good morning and thank you for having me here. If the investor urban design proposal has to be improved twice by the demand of the planning administration in regard to the size and shape of the neighborhood park, of the sunlight supply of the kindergarten and the primary schools open spaces, if in social housing designs secondary rooms quality is checked regularly, the position, size and shape of bike and pram stalls, comfortable washing saloons with visual connections to playgrounds. If public park and playground design considers also the play and sport interests of girls. If streets offer well-lit and shaded spaces for walking, biking, sitting and play on the way. If the net and the timetables of public transport consider different everyday patterns and stops are carefully situated and designed, and if in participation processes the quiet ones are heard and the vulnerable ones are addressed, then it's gender planning. Planning is a very complex field of action between market forces and common interests. Also, we have stolen a lot. We picked up this idea of this scheme from Praha because they made in their public space strategy to show all the different departments responsible for one street section, and so we showed this for our public strategic concept of public space of Vienna. So you see what you have to handle inside the city. From outside, the city looks like one institution, but inside it's a whole jungle. When we started, we always say there is this male white middle class bias. So because we planners normally we are from the middle class, so we have this specific everyday life situation and patterns. And there was also this tendency to see the city only as a technical system and not as a social one. And gender planning really means to stand systematically in different shoes. It's a strategy of quality assurance. And I think what is really important, because if you are planners and architects, so to decide about conflicting aims and targets, I always say it's the daily bread of planners. And very often we just discuss this as functional conflicts and not as social ones. And so I think this systematic assessment of conflicting interests, you come to have a higher social intelligence in planning processes. And I think at university we are told planners, specifically in public administration, are responsible about definition of common interests, but also within common interests there are different needs and sometimes conflict. So it's a specification of common welfare. And Milot already said it, it's a question of political culture, planning culture. It's about fairness between the competing interests, but it's also, as Milot mentioned, it's also, you even can argue on a neoliberal, from a neoliberal position, if you know more about your customer need and interests, you can better meet their needs and have a higher efficiency of your investment of public money. We have quite a long tradition of gender planning covering different topics. how did it start? It started with because this is a question I'm quite often asked. It started as an informal cooperation between engaged young women in administration and politics, because I think this is really, it needs both. It needs supportive politicians, but politicians are also depending on experts who can translate this in their everyday task. We started with an exhibition, Who Owns Public Space? Women's Everyday Life in the City, as starting point of this cooperation. We analyzed for the first time, so it already contains quite a lot of elements of gender mainstreaming, although this term did not exist at that time, but it was about analyzing data and showing. At that time, it was very, I think, a kind of eye-opener that 2/3 of car ways are done by men and 2/3 of pedestrian ways are done by women. And at that time, nobody on the traffic, or the mobility experts, traffic experts, they were called at that time, they just realized that beside cars and public transport, there might be some bikers, but nobody spoke at all about pedestrians. Nobody spoke about public space. This has changed dramatically, fortunately, but at that time we were really the first one to articulate this for the city of Vienna, and we led by accompany 8 women, from a young girl to a very old lady, from a single workaholic manager to a Turkish housewife, from a student in a wheelchair, so different life situation. This was a bit the basis of the exhibition. And so Vienna looked like this in the beginning of the 90s. And there were really a high number of people killed by car accidents. Yes, so I think these pictures spoke about themselves, but we also speak about the importance of green areas and also child playgrounds as working place for parents, but also the high value, and we for the first time spoke about spaces of anxiety and well-being for women. What happened next? This exhibition was really quite a success. There was it was like a time window. There was a lot of interest from media reaction, so politicians felt encouraged. And so I became, which was quite unusual, as a technician, the first head of the women's office. And of course, I wanted to make also something in the planning field. So Milota has shown you this. Already explained. This was an invited competition about urban design, but we combined it already with the flat layouts. And this was really quite successful because, again, there was a lot of publicity. So at that time, it was not so easy to rent social and subsidized housing flats on this, we say it's a bit Trans-Danubia on the outskirts of Vienna. But the flats were very quickly rented because there was also this trust in the practical value of the flats. And at that time, because Vienna is a federal state, so we are quite happy. We are federal organized. And so the federal state is quite strong and is responsible for housing subsidies. And at that time, 80% of new built flats were subsidized. So it was a huge impact to integrate the gender perspective in this new quality assessment, because before it was just distributed subsidies. A bit like in medieval manner, so politicians decide and who gets the money and who not. And then we made this qualitative competence, and they realized that the gender perspective added really a practical value in the project. So this was a bit start of mainstreaming. And then it became what I call the golden age. There was strong political support, and we started with a lot of pilots. And there was a change in the Women's City Councillor changed. And I proposed, because I'm a planner by heart, so the planning projects were my heart projects, to create a specific unit by feminist planners in the technical direction of Vienna. So we were three with a small budget, but continuously working. And we covered different topics, so like competitions for public purpose buildings also, for schools, education centers. And we organized workshops also to discuss with teachers about, so I think to ask the users also in this education center. So this was really experience, because there were three already existing institutions: music school, public library, and public university. And we said that they know the best about their user patterns. And what we've learned normally in the jury, there are the head of department, so it's more about the people who are top in the hierarchy, but have no knowledge about the local situation. And then we couldn't influence this, but we invited then at the outcome of the competition to improve the projects. And this was really important. And so I learned how important it is really is to ask the concrete user experiences. Now, this gender-sensitive park design. So this was, I call a bit like a ideal typical process, how it should work, because we started in the women's office with a socio-scientific survey about specific interests of girls. It was in 34 parks of Vienna in the inner districts where there is a lack of space, so where there are quite strong conflicts. And the sociologists, they spoke to the children, they watched the children, and they defined it like a bit like the jungle, so the strongest take it all. So up to the parents, there is equal chances at the playground for small children, but when they have to be there for themselves, then we realize that girls fade out. So up from the age from 10, you find less girls there. And these ball cages, Milord already showed, so in these fences, so it's even that the small boys have to go out when the young adults came. And so the reaction was that we realized, so this survey really created, we have a problem there. So the public parks are designed and owned and managed by the city. So we implemented a political goal, and then we realized 6 model projects, 4 of them with active participation of girls. And then we made an evaluation based on that, seeing if the patterns of use have changed, if girls have better chances, but also design analysis. And then based on this, we made evaluation workshops, and then we formulated together with the garden department planning recommendations for gender-sensitive park design. And I always say this is mainstreaming as it best, because every new or redesigned park in Vienna now really follow these principles. And so this really worked well. And maybe, of course, that there are a lot again of female landscape architects, so they really take it, see it at their task. And this sounds like a smooth story, but it was like a lot of resistance, and therefore the political support was so important. This was what you already have seen by Milord, the scheme. So to open these hermetic ball cages, if there are more entrances, if there are sitting facilities, so smaller children try and want to see where is the quiet corner, because there are not very often 11 playing against 11. There are more often smaller groups. Usable spaces. Here the girls, this was a participation project, said we have more quiet if our place is connected to the small children's place because boys don't want to go there. It's a no-go area, so the little kids for the boys. So we find our place there. I think children are very sensitive about realistic options. That's what I was really impressed by the children. Just showing, so for example, this was an unused area of bushes. This is my neighborhood park. I'm living around the corner. And so the children discovered if we create there, they call it like bush rooms, we will not come in conflicts with other users. So I was really impressed by their sense of space potentials. This was migrant girls already met there, and there's a public toilet, which is very important. There was such a sport facility, and they formulated it like a contact zone because it's interesting with the boys, a meeting place, but their own lawn for their own sport facilities and their own retreat communication. So they formulated it. It was a weekend workshop very clearly. And this is a girls' only space due to a music hall. And so this was also quite impressive how the range of activities widens if girls are alone for them doing wood construction work and stuff like that. Model split, so we already talked a lot, but I think it really is this, you called it intersectionality, so I think it's really, we called it gender plus. For example, so for the motorized individual traffic, so if you look at age group and sex, so you see the difference. The highest use of cars is by men, 40 older men, and the lowest is by young women. And I think this is really necessary to see also for, as politicians, to calculate who will be your supporters if you want to transform the mobility systems and where will be the strongest resistance. We made a pilot district in pilot process in Vienna, starting with the inner district, a 4 years pilot process. And the poor civil servants, they were not asked to participate. If they want to participate, they were forced to participate because they were responsible for the 6th district. But we had a very strong local political leader, and we supported them. And so we stand on their side. This was the workshop in the beginning, so we made to walk them around in a wheelchair with a blind stock, just with a pram, just to get this feeling. And we installed a quality board, and we made workshops 3 times a year, and we asked the board just to give positive comments. So really to acknowledge the efforts they are making. The critics we made then inside at lunchtime, we were then more critical, but I think it was really important to say it's a very important thing if you are looking on pedestrian needs, and there were all these different small measurements to give at traffic lights, pedestrians 3 seconds in advance, because we have learned that specifically elderly people, when cars come around, they have green at the same time around the corner, so they get unsecure. If they have 3 seconds in advance, they are already on the street, and then it improves their safety feeling. The mobility there is a women's commission, the only one at the local political board in Vienna still, and they made night walks like you yesterday to identify spaces of anxiety, and they made, it's like gender budgeting, a fixed sum every year to improve the lighting situation in the district. Broader sidewalks, so you see it, and all these small measurements all together really help to raise the quality of for pedestrians. And the next elections were very exciting for me too, because I thought if this local political board will be punished by the voters and the angry car drivers, then we can forget about pedestrian issues the next 10 years. But the positive reaction of the voters, so they get a strong approval for this policy. And we invested quite a lot also in communication in the district, and this branding Fair Share City was created during the process. Safety issues, we also made what we have learned during this process was that the lighting department, they were very open-minded but real technicians. They go there during the day by car because they say, we know we can judge the situation from our experience, and they are just focused on bringing the light, the looks, what they bring, the power of light on the pavement, but they don't see the connection that with the dark bushes beside, the same lux is much looks much darker, then it needs additional lighting in different situations. And so we really tried to sharpen their sense, and we made a list of criteria where they should use a higher level of lighting supply. And the last question was, would you let your 12-year-old girl or son go there alone at night? Every 5 years we made an excursion, and then this was really mainstreaming again, that they proudly showed that they added additional lighting for the pedestrian situation, or there is a bus stop here under a bridge and that it has really needs specific lighting. Institutional mainstreaming, so this golden age with a lot of pilots ended, and we were then transformed or dissolved our unit, and I came to again in the technical direction in the unit as a gender expert for urban development and planning, and my co-workers went to the department for architectural design in the units for public space and public buildings. And maybe some of you know Lake City Aspen. It's the biggest development area, I think, all over Europe. It's about 220 hectares, and in the end, 30,000 people will live there, and it was a former airport, so it's really brownfield development with all possibilities. We were not involved in the beginning in the competition, so about competitions I can speak about hours because I really think it's crucial how you organize them. But during the process we have been involved, and all these different components come together here because the parks and about this subsidized housing, being member of the developer competitions and organizing workshops. And just to give you, so this is developed step by step. And here you see, again, it's a car poor area with we have the same relation of car traffic like in the first district of Vienna, so a very low rate of car use. That public metro line was there before the first tenants moved in, so high quality of public transport. And you see there is really quite a lot of space. And I asked the neighborhood management about the age of children walking around by themselves. So we have no statistical evidence, but they said, because I said my impression is there are more children walking there alone by themselves, and they confirmed and said there are a lot of very strong, self-confident children there. So I think we really, so the development agency did a good job. This is a next part, and you see here really It's very practical. So here is the metro station. You have the supermarket here. You have the kindergarten here. You have the primary school here. You have a public toilet here. You have the youth center here. And this is the metro line. And like in Bratislava, this was really used for different playing situations. So what I really like is these bike training facilities for small children, or these open ball cages. But here again you see this is not very gender sensitive. I've seen in Berlin in a gender sensitive pilot park just these ball facilities on a lower level also for smaller children. So this functions without any other management. And what is really important is the streets are organized like a shopping mall. So because there is this development agency and they sell the sites to the developers with the obligation that the ground floor renting must follow a principle. And so therefore there are really all the necessary shops are there. So I think this was quite an important management. So it's not only about architecture, it's really about how to formulate the contract. And we had a discussion yesterday about symbolic policies, because we realized 70 personalized street names, 7% are named after women and 93 after men. And this was the idea, all the names there are named after famous artists, scientists, and this was, we do this now for all our new development areas in Vienna. Also in public transport, so the signs for, we changed this also, there are 50% fathers now holding the baby. So I think also this gives a kind of signal. And what I really find important about, because Vienna, I think it's similar to Ljubljana, if there's strong urban expansion, so in these new urban development areas, I don't know how the planning law in Slovenia functions, but we have the possibility to make urban contracts with the developers as a city. And in this is civil law, not I'm missing the English expressions, not the official law, but civil negotiations. And in this, we made this because when they need us, the developers need a change of the zoning plans, and in new areas, they always need a change of zoning plans. They are very willing and open-minded, and they promise you heaven. As soon as they have the zoning plan, there is a change of mindset. But specifically for private developers. So with this contract, if you make them before zoning plans, you can negotiate, and we negotiated to install a quality board there. I, as a gender expert, I was involved in this. It's beside Lake City Aspens. Construction just started. Really, for example, open spaces of kindergartens. That's always a problem. We have our criteria, they're always neglected. The developers started to design already to make their projects before the zoning plan, because it was a constant dialogue. And then I said, we will write the number, or we calculate the number of open space for kindergartens, and we'll write it definitely in the contract. And we realized that they had to enlarge it. So they didn't pay attention to that. And also we obliged them to make microclimate analysis. And again, a thought was that because from our calculation number, we know we need 3 kindergartens from expected inhabitants. And we let the developer decide who will take the kindergartens integrated in their building. This was a thought. I would never recommend this again, because they choose this one. And this is not very, because it's quite dense. And from the microclimate analysis, we realized that they placed the kindergarten in the hottest corner. And due to the microclimate analysis, it was possible to force them to change them to the other side, but we couldn't change the block again. So I think microclimate analysis, shading diagrams, they're really, I call them weapons in a materialized language. But defining common interests, it sometimes really, it needs some conflicts. And this end, very strong, we said they need the green light. They have to present their projects, and they need the green light of the quality board that we call them building, that the city will start the building permission process. And with this, we also get the private investors under our quality control. So I think in this urban contract, this can really be if city, because I think cities have quite a strong position, but very often they are under such pressure to be developer friendly and investment friendly. There is this conflict within planning administration. Participation. It's not that participation, it depends how it's organized. They proudly present us a planning department. We've done participation. They didn't understand why I laughed. This is when you send to every household in the surrounding one letter inviting them at 5 p.m., the rush hour of family life, to the public office. Then you get or you have a whole weekend attend on the future child care facilities. And what we also learned, that the more timid people like not, if you have small tables with the experts of the city, then you get much more information as if people are forced to stand up in a situation like that. So I think it really depends on that. So we made gender-sensitive design. And for example, a planning cafe with coffee and cake, with multilingual planners asking people what you want to do, what kind of activities. For the people with lack of time, care work, just to give these feedback points. So what kind of atmosphere do you want? And we differentiate it by color, by sex. Maybe today we would add a third color. And by size, so you could realize the children and the youngsters. And I realized that the boys were giving their opinions, but the girls were missing. So I encouraged every passing by girl to give your vote. This is something of the outcomes. Very traditionally, men were voting for biking interests, women for pedestrian interests. Women were much more about nature and green elements. Sometimes then gender stereotypes are real. I will say it's also an everyday life experience that don't come out of nothing. And it's also... and we decided very clearly that the fast biking route will create so much disturbance in the use of this square as a green space and they can make a longer way. But it really helps to discuss this conflicting interests. This was another about urban design, to ask about favorite spaces, spaces of conflict, and again, we differentiated, asking them to, we monitored age and sex of the comments. But this process takes time, and we developed a fairness check, which is quite simple and which you can do as a politician or as a planner, as a kind of self-control. Just define your most important 5 or 6 target groups, and then to discuss. In the middle you have 0, here you have your target groups, and then you discuss your measurements and say, visualize the positive impact it has. And we have done this, for example, with gender diversity and inclusion experts for our strategic concept of mobility and public space. And we realized that sometimes you say this is a very important group, and then with this systematic assessment, you realize we said it's a very important group, but we don't have real measurements for them. So it's really a kind of self-control, and we formulated a third of our measurements, because, for example, for the mobility concept, everyone was about digitalization. And we said 10%, we know by data that 10% of people don't own a smartphone. So we established the principle you always have to deliver a two-way information. It cannot only be on the digital side. So I think this will really be quite crucial also for the future. What I really wanted to show you is we have had different strategies. I think the most important ones are really start with pilots, because pilots are convincing. It really worked out well, and it's much easier to say we make a pilot than to change your policy in the beginning. But most important of all is ask the right questions. Very often the simple ones are not asked, but are the important ones in mainstream planning discussion. So I think I hope I already could show that we had some impact. Of course, the lower it is the planning level, the easier it is, and most self-explaining for urban design. It's quite tricky when you start to discuss about density and urban parameters. But I think urban design is extremely important. So the manual, and just want to show you some manuals. What we've done also was to create fables or guides for public space, but also for sitting facilities, a cooling guide and inclusive playing guides, and really showing in a very simple, we always say, planners are visual animals, and it's much more a scheme or a photo explains a lot. And just to make it like a 4-star, so about maintenance cost, which groups are facilitated, so to give very short, pregnant information, and you can use it like a catalog also for local politicians. And we really appreciate it if it's done in Vienna. We also showed examples from other cities, but most convincing and helpful for politicians is, but this was already possible here. So showing good examples in your own city has the highest convincing outcome. This is very reasonably, it will be an English translation. It's just some weeks old it's really with this politician from the start, she's retired also, just to make this very simple, not simple, but in everyday language, explain this to local politicians. What is the positive impact? What are how to start a process, and to find Austrian examples, and so a bit the storytelling. What I hugely recommend is also I think we can learn a lot from Third World, Global South, because they are trained to get high impact with low resources. And this I will keep. There are just few additional costs, so it's not much more expensive. Maybe in the pilots you need a bit more of time and additional workload. You must not be afraid of skeptical public reactions. It was more in the professional bubbles, the male colleagues kidding about these stupid topics. But the citizens and media were very positive. And so I think it's really to ask on a professional level. Therefore, I find this manual so helpful. And really what I think what is really the new challenge now is the climate crisis. And I think what from the gender planning, we argued the necessity of sustainable transport means of public green spaces, unsealed spaces. From the user side, in the climate debate, it's more from the microclimate effects, but I think there are strong synergies, and we really know time is running. And I think there is really a lot about communication. Politicians have to survive to do the right things. And we must change this really also to a story of raising life quality, not only the loss of comfort for car drivers or investors, but really to raise this because also car drivers are parents. And so I think there is really this transformation as communication issue also needs a gender lens for better acceptance. And I think what we really need, and therefore I think such conferences are so valuable, are so these pragmatic utopias, ideas. We have learned a lot, been inspired by other cities, I hope, and I excuse for the length that you get some ideas from Vienna, and I think this exchange is really very valuable. And in the coffee break, because of course I told you all the successes, in the coffee break I can tell you also the failures, but I think this was not what the organizers would expect me to do. So here, thank you for your attention.